Hey guys, welcome back to today's episode. We've got a new build that we're going to start today. Oddly enough, we're starting at the same time that Scott is doing something very similar over on RC Terminator. It was just pure coincidence. We hang out a lot. We're usually together on weekends with our trucks. He got something on a trade and I ordered something off Amazon, and then we talked to each other a couple days later and we're both like, yeah, I'm going to build a straight up rock crawler. Didn't talk to each other, pure coincidence, but we're both excited to get him started. He's building a Axial Wraith, and I'm building something a little bit different. Let me turn around and show you. Alright, so this is what I got. It is a full cage, roll cage. I'm going to call it a single-seater. Scott's is a little wider, so that's like a side-by-side with two drivers. This would be a single-person buggy. All metal. Got it off Amazon. It's got the big stinger up front. It's got the shock mounts and the transmission mounts, lower link mounts, shock mounts on the back. All metal construction. That's the frame we're going to go with. If we have a frame, we're going to need a transmission. So I went with just the cheap $20 Injora transmission, plastic gear, plastic case. This is just going to be for build up and mock up more than actually using it. I'll probably do a metal transmission, metal gear later. But to keep the weight down and the cost down right now on the build, I just went with plastic. So that was a $20 transmission off Amazon, Injora. This is, it doesn't have a brand name, but it was off Amazon as well. You can find them different prices. I paid $50 for this one because it was in stock with Amazon. I didn't have to wait 3 weeks to get it from China. So we have roll cage transmission. It's based off the SCX 10.2. So I ordered a Hobby Park aluminum SCX 10.2 4-hole transmission mount to mount our transmission. I ordered a carbon fiber and aluminum mount for the servo on axle. We're not going to do servo on chassis. We're doing servo on axle to keep the weight down low. We have just a standard 20 kilogram off Amazon. I think these are like $20. This is the one actually I just took off the Remo because I upgraded the one on the Remo. So this is pretty much free. I'm trying to make this as cheap as possible to get started. These mountain shocks came off of the Injora Jeep, the hard body. I'm not going to be using those. I might use these for mock-up. I might try to run them without the spring and try to set them up with internal spring. Don't know, but I have these if I want to use them. And I have two motors. So I have a Axial 27-turn brushed motor, and I have an Injora 35-turn brushed motor. And then we have these Injora axles. So these Injora axles actually came off of the Injora Jeep that we built. I've got parts coming on it. As soon as I get all the parts for that, I'll let you guys know. I think I already said I was doing a leaf spring conversion to that, so waiting for the parts. I am not going to use these axles. I am getting the Yoda 2 axles and converting that guy to leaf spring. So I took the axles off of it. And I also took the motor out because I hate the placement of the motor in that. And I'm going to change some things and try to get that thing really nice and tight to where everything fits good. So we'll be getting back on. That was actually our first build on the channel, if you remember, when I started about a year ago. That was my first build. And I've made so many mistakes on that. But I've also learned so much. So it's time to revamp it and make it better. New video coming out on that as soon as I get all the parts. But in the time being, we're going full on crawler. So a lot of these are just used parts. The servo came out of the Remo. This motor came out of the Injora Jeep. This motor I ordered for the Injora Jeep, and it was too long, so I had to order this one, which is a shorter case. And I'll tell you why I took this one out of the Injora Jeep later. I'm thinking about getting the stubby from Holmes Hobby to give me even more clearance. So this is what I got so far. Shock, servo, transmission, transmission mount, axle, front axle, servo mount, front and rear diff, and two motors to choose from, and the frame. So I'm hoping to make this a fairly budget build. I would like to keep it in reality under 300 bucks. I'm going to try to keep a rolling tally at the end of each video. But let's see, the front I want to be somewhere out there, and I want to keep the ass end tucked nice and tight. So maybe something like that. Try to get it a little more centered here. I want to keep the rear end about level, and I want the front end to stick out a little bit, because when you get your articulation, I don't want the servo to be hitting, so it just depends on where I can get the servo up inside to keep the servo from hitting. So that's probably about the wheelbase. I'm going to start with 313 millimeter setup links. I'm doing a 4-link front and rear. And once I get started with some links, I'll be able to finalize the measurement. I may do the links with the all thread like I did before, just to measure which links I want and then order them. But that's going to get us started, guys. So I'm going to get the transmission mount put in, the transmission put in, and maybe I've got some links from the Injora build. Let me grab those. Alright, so here I've just got some random links from the Injora build to where I can space out my front and rear to kind of play with where I want the axles to be. And then once I get it finalized, if it works good and crawls great, I'll give you guys the information as to how long the links are in the back, how long they are in the front. I am thinking about doing high clearance links on the rear, because the rear usually hangs up more than the front, and just having straight links on the front. I also want to keep it as low as possible on a full droop setup, and then just have as much articulation as I can with the 4 links. So this is all new. It's all going to be an experiment, but we're going to learn some stuff and make mistakes and see what happens. So let me get this set up, and we'll get a picture of it after I get the links on and the transmission in. If I run into any problems, I'll let you guys know, but I'm not going to bore you with the assembly. I'm just going to put the Hobby Park transmission mount in and put the Injora transmission on the mount. That'll kind of let me know where center is. And then I might pick some of these links to go with my first initial, at least to know the wheelbase, kind of where it's going to be, and if I want the front end to stick out more or less. And I'm also thinking about up here in this front area, I might have to modify it a little bit, but I'm hoping I can get a 2S all the way up front for my battery supply. Alright, so here's what we got so far. We have the frame, which has no name, is from China, mounted perfectly with the Hobby Park transmission mount, and the Injora transmission mounted perfectly to the Hobby Park transmission mount. So far, all the different brands are working out very well. I did not mount the motor yet, but it looks like it has plenty of room. This is the Axial 27 turn. I don't know if I think this is probably a 540. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm still learning this, but there's plenty of room for this guy. If I can get my fingers out of the way and the wires. So there's plenty of room in there for that guy. And I did take the one out, the Injora, and this is a 550 motor, which is a little bit longer. It does stick out a little bit further, so I'm not sure if that'll be an issue with any of the links or travel, so I'm not going to put the motor in until I get the links figured out. Then I'll know which motor to go with, but I have 2 to choose from. So let me get the links on front and rear. We'll get a couple through the rear end and diff housings and see how it looks. Alright, so there is our axle mounted servo. I just went ahead and attached everything loosely. Everything's going to come back off and get Loctite. This is all just for mock-up. But you got everything you needed in that kit. You got the 2 stanchions where you replace these shorter screws with the longer ones provided in the kit. They go all the way through to your diff cover. The 2 screws that go up and attach the side arms for the servo mounts, the 4 screws for the servo. Everything was in the kit. The only thing you didn't get was a new servo arm, but that comes with your servos. So everything to do an axle mounted servo came in that kit. Everything worked good. Everything went together fine. And now we just have to, it did come with a link for the servo for steering. I just don't have that hooked up yet, so but it did come in the kit. So we'll get this axle thrown under the chassis and see where we want our placement, so we know that this guy isn't going to be an issue when we're getting our articulation. Alright guys, well that's what we got so far. Not sure it's really going to work that way. Like I said, I went with the longest links in the kit for the lowers on the front, and then the second longest links for the lower on the back. And this servo is just tucks up inside the frame when it's all the way down. I'm trying to get these bars as level as possible with the skid plate so that I have the most amount of clearance, because like I said, I want to go with a full droop setup. So I've got these in, and now I just need to measure for my top links, and then once I get my top links in, I can hold it up and see how much droop I get before I get a bind. Then I'll know what kind of shocks I need to order. So that's far from where it needs to be, but it's got me an idea where I can start measuring and at least either make some links out of all thread or just order some different link kits. Like I said, I do want to do, I believe, high clearance links on the rear and just do straight ones on the front. But they're all going to come in the kit, so I may set it up both ways just to see what it looks like. But that's what we got so far. Gonna do some more measuring and get some more stuff ordered, and we'll do an update on it. But probably the next video you see after this one will be a run video on the Remo hobby. We just did wheel weights, new drive shafts. What else did we do? We painted it green. We put the roof rack on it, and the new servo. So all those improvements will test out on the caves, so you'll probably see that video right after this one. But this is the beginning of our rock crawler build. I'm going to call it the cage crawler, Amazon cage crawler. All this stuff, for the most part, I got off Amazon. I'm going to say everything. I don't think there's anything I didn't order off Amazon. We still need shocks, drive shafts. I'm not going to do drive shafts until I finalize my wheelbase, so I know which drive shafts to order. Shocks I can't order until I have my links and my axle placement where I want it. The servo we're running just a 20 kilogram from Amazon. Injora $20 transmission. I think the Hobby Park skid plate transmission mount was around 15 bucks. I'll put it all up at the end of the video so you know how much it was. Put all the links in the description in case you want to do something like this. And thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for all the new subscribers. Hope you're enjoying the content. See you next time.